Two bald guys and a microphone. 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 Alarm ringing in the morning, time to rise and shine. Open up your eyes to awaken your mind. Need to make the day count, need to get in the zone. Tune in to Two Bald Guys and a Microphone. Introducing Coach Papa Tim Stewart's his name. Pay attention to his wisdom, it'll raise your game. He wants to see a better world, so he plays his part. Always loving, always giving, cause he's got a big heart. The co-host won't boast, but he can stand on his own. From the state of Iowa, it's that man Kent Jones. He's impressive on the mic and he don't need a cord. And whether hosting or he's hooping, he's controlling the boards. And the one feeding a hungry herd of Americans, make you feel right at home like he's your best friend. Though he's not a city slicker, he's as cool as the fun. Just a witty wisdom giver, Mr. Ranch and Run. Set the tone for your day and get in the zone. Tune in to
Two Bald Guys and a Microphone.
Welcome to Two
Bald Guys and a Microphone.
Coach Papa on this side, Deek on that side, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful week, a beautiful month. Things are getting started off in a
Gorgeous out there, isn't it?
Fashion, beautiful morning.
We're all suited up here in our
we
black vests.
We got the vest going
good.
on this morning.
Of course, Two Bald Guys and a Microphone, brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center. If you are stressed, especially during this season, reach out to our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center, 815-385-8190, and get a massage. Get some of that tension and whatnot rubbed out of you. John and his team of licensed massage therapists, and acupuncture therapists, you name it. Massage therapy, reflexology, acupuncture, Thai yoga massage. There's a bunch of good stuff out there. Check them out at www.mchenrymassage.com.
What a great idea for a gift certificate for that loved one who maybe,
or yourself,
or you might be putting a little stress on their life. You said, here,
stuff your own stocking.
That's right.
That's it.
How was your weekend?
Well, good weekend. Of course, we weren't here last week to kick off the week. You were feeling just a tad bit under the weather, and you can't have two bald guys and a microphone without one of the bald guys. So instead of just sitting here and chatting with myself and being one bald guy and a microphone, we took the week off. Good Thanksgiving and everything for you?
Thanksgiving was awesome. My daughter graciously offered to host Thanksgiving.
Nice.
At our house.
And there you go.
And then the night before, Wednesday, we're just double checking for seating at the house. How many from her brood was coming? Between her and her husband, they have 6 children.
Yeah.
And there was 5 of them coming, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then she called 10 minutes later. By the way, did we tell you that Ashley's family was coming? So that added 11 more people. So we had 23 people at our house on Thanksgiving. Ashley, my son-in-law, did all the cooking at their house and then brought it to our house. So it worked out really well. And it was a beautiful day. By the end of the day, I was sitting around the table with a bunch of my grandsons, and they're all doing the combat brain training. So they were having fun.
How fun. That is it.
How about you?
Good times. Of course, we go to the Wisconsin Dells. So we rented a huge log cabin that sleeps like 14, had a theater room, everything in it. But where I was able to sit, I could look right out into the woods, which was nice. So I was in a little bit of heaven. My kids were like, "Dad, you let." I go, "Yeah, I could live here." They said it was awesome. Very, very fun time. And of course, last week was busy but good, and things just keep getting better and better here at 216 The Net with some big. Hey, Dana, good morning. Glad to have you with us. Some cool stuff she does there.
Dana KT, Katrina Tilly?
That is.
Good to see you, Dana.
And so a lot of fun stuff that's coming down the pipe for 2023 here at 216 Studios. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. Yeah.
I've got a few health challenges I got to get through this winter. I thought I was going to be recovering from knee surgery, and turns out I need some things done on my neck and some other stuff. So
Need to clean out some of those cheeseburgers.
That's what, yeah. I've never had a cheeseburger. I'm allergic to
That's
dairy,
right.
but plenty of
right.
hamburgers.
That's right.
So gotta do some work, but it's going to be a good winter.
That's it, Shayna. Good morning. Yeah, it's gonna be. It should be. It should be a great winter. And you know, it's although it's nerve wracking to us sometimes. What you're going to be going through, it's you know, it's like changing spark plugs for these surgeons, which is fun. Yeah. So this is the time of the year for traditions.
Tradition.
And everybody has traditions, and whether it's on an annual basis, a daily basis, a monthly basis, whatnot. Some people call them habits. Now, we take a family habit that's been handed down for years and years and years, generations to generations, and we call that tradition. Right. We all know the story about, the cutting the butt off the ham, right? Why do we do that?
Because it needed to fit in grandma's pan.
That's right. That's right. And so those are the traditions that we're talking about. And man, traditions, when they're broken, really throw people into a bit of a loop. Okay.
I'll never forget. We had a new priest, and he'd been there about a month. We got to church, and as soon as he got up, before anything else happened, he went up to the pulpit and he says, all right, today we're going to do something different. He said, if you're sitting in the front on the left, I want you to move to the back on the right. Ooh. And those of you in the front on the right moved back on the left, and those in the back on the left moved front on the right. So he moved everybody in the whole church. And some of these families, we've been sitting in this pew since 1947. This is our family pew. And he says, sometimes we need to get a different perspective.
Yeah.
But it can throw you off, and sometimes as families grow and shrink from kids going away, going to the Navy, whatever, traditions change a little bit. New traditions begin, but I think it's always important to.
And how long does it take to create a new tradition? And hold the thought there. And here's what I'm talking about: traditions when they break. Okay, you'll remember, boy. 10 years ago, maybe, that on Thanksgiving, all the stores, we got to beat the Black Friday. Stores are open. How dare you be open and make people work on Thanksgiving? That is a family holiday. And when the tradition of everything being closed on Thanksgiving was broken, everybody was up in arms.
They were.
Everybody was up in arms.
They went shopping, but they were up in arms.
They were terribly mad and spent a terrible lot of money.
That's right.
And then very shortly thereafter, it became quick, let's eat. Quick, let's get over to this deal. Let's get to this deal. And literally, my wife, daughters, mother-in-law, everybody would go shopping on, Thanksgiving, 8 o'clock or whenever, 10 o'clock. And they would shop all night long.
Yeah.
All night long. They'd be getting the great deals all night long. And then, the pandemic comes, things are closed down. How dare you not open up for us on Thanksgiving? And this year, up in the Wisconsin Dells where we were, nothing was open on Thanksgiving.
That's awesome.
Right? And boy, does that throw people off when a tradition is broken. And I'm like, I'm one of those guys, may surprise you, that I go, but wait.
there's more.
Y'all were livid 10 years ago when everything started being open 24 hours on Thanksgiving. And now you were livid because you have a new habit or a new tradition. Right? How long does it take to create a tradition?
Well, you had this little elf guy here. This is the Restoration One elf.
That's Rudy, the Restoration One.
Let me tell you just a short story about a tradition that got started at our house. It actually started in July. My 3 children were probably 4, 5, and 8, somewhere in that age range. And they were in the front room, and they were kind of arguing and bickering with each other. And I, being the creative individual I am, I I wrote a note, and I wrote it left-handed, so they couldn't see my.
Yeah, I couldn't
Right,
detect.
and it was from an elf to say, "Hey, I'm watching you all year long." And when they came in for lunch, I turned off the ceiling fan, and I went in and put the note up on the ceiling fan. And they're back in the living room, and they're back bickering about stuff. And I just went around the corner and I flicked the switch on that ceiling fan that went back in the kitchen. And all of a sudden, there's a scream in the front room. Mom, Dad, there's an elf watching us.
Yeah,
We're sorry. We'll behave ourselves. Well, his name was Brayson Elf.
Brayson.
Brayson is a combination of Brandon, Dawn, and Sean. All three of their names I turned into the name of this Brayson Elf.
Yeah.
And he would watch them and leave notes for them all year long whenever they were slightly misbehaving. So it wasn't a Christmas time, but at Christmas time, he started showing up with
Just
little
a wee bit
presents and
more.
little. It became kind of like a scavenger
Yeah.
hunt Christmas. And this lasted throughout their formative years, until they, probably were in high school and maybe even a
Wow.
little beyond.
Sure.
Well, as they started having kids, what I found out was Elf on a Shelf then came around. And now every elf on a shelf in every one of my children's house is named Brayson, and Brayson Elf has become that tradition.
There
And
you
it
go.
all started because I just wanted to try to get them to behave themselves.
Didn't want to
on
start whooping them. That's
on a
it.
July morning. But a tradition is born. Sometimes we plan on that tradition, and sometimes it just kind of happens.
Yeah. So Shayna says, I thought I loved tradition, but it turns out I just like to be happy. Often not mutually inclusive. No, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. There are traditions. Last night Ashley and Jake were in town, and Colette didn't have a ball game or wasn't running around, and so we decorated the Christmas tree. Always a fun tradition, and good time. And there's certain ornaments that are tradition that each kid and parent puts on. So as we were doing that and having a good time, but to Shayna's point, there's a lot of tradition that is not mutually inclusive and enjoyed by everybody, and there you go. So that's always true. Habits are the same way. There's habits that not everybody loves. Lisa, good morning, glad to have you with us. And so we have, believe it or not, we have traditions. And like I said, tradition, habit, whatever the case, whatever you may want to call it. But you have those traditions that without, I don't know, those patterns, without those patterns, I don't know if people could get by.
Well, obviously, we are creatures of habit and creatures of pattern, but I think we're also survivors. And sometimes when that tradition gets broken, we just figure it out. It's sad. I mean, we used to have just these huge Christmas family dinners, and then one day when my father-in-law got sick, they just ended, and we thought they would come back the next year, but it never came back. And new things took its place. There's always something, and we will figure out. We're human beings. We'll figure something out. But at the end of the day, we like our patterns, but we don't actually need them to survive.
Yeah. I take a look at the World Cup is rolling right now. The FIFA World Cup.
Yes, it is.
And you want to talk about patterns and traditions. These athletes, these teams, these the Japanese team. Did you see?
I did not watch the Japanese game. I watched the highlights of it.
So Google the Japanese locker room. Okay, so anybody who's been involved with sports is like, locker rooms are usually not trash, but it's just somebody's going to come in and clean this up. Right. And the tradition of the Japanese team is to leave the locker room spotless, everything folded, everything in its place, and gifts left in there for whoever goes in there. If you Google it, you'll see absolutely, it looks like a hotel room. Everything is folded so neatly, and then there's gifts there and all that good stuff. And it's just amazing how athletes, how people, habits and traditions and patterns and things that you do on a daily basis are really what goes on in your life. How many times have you been driving and you're heading to store A, and you just jump in the car, and it's a Monday morning, and your car, we're not having a show perhaps,
Yes.
and you're heading to the store to get some eggs for breakfast, and the next thing you know is you're on the way to the studio. How many? And you're like, wait, where am I going? What
I had
what's going on?
my first house was in Island Lake, Illinois, and I had just recently, my wife and I had bought a new house in McCollum Lake, and we had moved probably about 3 or 4 weeks before that. I was working a evening shift, 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was a lot going on in my mind. And I remember driving home, and thinking, and I pull into the driveway and realize I was in the house at Island Lake instead of the house I was living in McCollum Lake. And I actually still owned the house. I was renting it out, and I pulled in the driveway at 11:30 at night. Their lights came on. I'm like, oh, back out.
Sorry,
real quick.
just checking on the
Sorry
old
about
place.
that.
Looks good. Yeah, yeah. And of course, Shayna says Christmas debt is a long-standing tradition. Um, well, and Christmas is the only time where it's safe to go out, by what marketing tells us, is safe to go out and buy a $70,000 car without your wife knowing.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna put a bow on it.
Yeah.
She's gonna be super happy about that.
Yeah. So absolutely. And then Shayna says, what is tradition if not building blocks of culture?
Like that building
Habits. Yeah, I think it's habits passed down generation to generation to generation to generation. Lisa says, I see tradition as memories to hold and locks in time.
Yep. Our tradition growing up. Somebody asked me about our Christmas morning.
Yeah.
What time did you get up and open presents? Well, no, we opened presents on Christmas Eve, and those presents always included a new pair of hip waders and a box of shotgun shells, because at 4:30 on Christmas morning we're headed to the duck blind.
Yeah.
And that's just the way my life was the whole time I was a
Yeah.
kid. Christmas was all about going hunting with the family. And then one day I joined the Army, and I stopped shooting things on Christmas morning.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah. Take a look at a pastor. You could ask Pastor Dave, who's on questions you never thought you could ask in church, here at 216 The Net on Wednesdays at 12:30 p.m. Central. But have Christmas fall on a Sunday like it does this year, and watch the tradition. Wait, whoa. Do we do church? Do we not do church? We do it all Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
But then again, Sunday is the day that we have the open. So, you start watching people scramble and, yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here. So that tradition's always fun. I would agree, Lisa, that it is. It's a kind of locks in time, right? It's a memory locked in time as we're getting as we're putting on the Christmas ornaments last night, the ornaments on the tree, and we are not bulb people. We are ornaments. We do figurines, and right, we are not snowflakes and whatnot. And my mom is today. Absolutely, happy birthday, Mom! How could I forget? Happy birthday! She is 81 years old today. Absolutely, love you, and thanks for tuning in. She's not listening anyway. But the amazing thing is as my mom and dad, hit their 80s, they're starting to thin out their stuff for at home, and they sent an ornament that I made probably at church or something when I was young. It was a felt stocking with. Now, I had to make this at church, or this is probably a '70s thing anyway. It was a felt stocking, and it's about 2.5, 3 inches, so it's
Mhm.
not real big, and it's red, and then it's got white felt glued to the top for the top of the stocking, and then some glitter glued on there as well, and then with alphabet macaroni.
I remember.
It spells Kent down, and my kids are like, "Whoa, wow, Dad, this is really fantastic," and I'm like, I was probably 6 or something,
Which proves that at one time you were 6. Hey, Chris
Right.
DeRoche is watching us this morning and hanging out. So, Chris, congratulations on all your recent victories. She ran the Chicago Marathon this year
Oh,
in the middle of chemotherapy
that
and
is
cancer. So,
wow, that is impressive.
she is
That is
one
impressive.
of my heroes.
So Lisa says, when my husband passed, so much ended and changed. Some of the traditions were not painful to miss. I find it amazing that my girls now in their own lives are creating families. They're starting those same things back up because to them it's family. Yep. Yeah, exactly. There are so many things. One of the big traditions in my house is we open the gifts on Christmas morning, because of course Santa would come
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, and the after we would open the gifts, I'd make a cup of coffee. We'd have cinnamon rolls and watch, Chevy Chase's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, right? And that's still a standing. To now I've got some ornaments that are from that. But that is, people are like, well, I'm like, yeah, we don't do church. We watch we watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's still one of the best ones. Now this year, we are breaking tradition. Now last year we moved, so a lot of our energy, money, and resources were spent in the move.
Right.
Santa still came, not quite as glorious as it has been in the last years. Now my youngest is in 8th grade, and now that piece of magic and mystery is no longer, right? So I'm talking with Alice, and I'm like, huh, we don't have to stay up till 1 o'clock wrapping stuff this year
Oh my goodness.
in special,
The stories I could tell about
right?
the staying up. Chris DeRoche, thanks. She says, "Oh shucks, Tim, I give all the glory to God. He's given me the determination and the peace." And there's so much truth in that. Even when we're looking at our traditions, a lot of our traditions are based
Yeah.
along our Judeo-Christian upbringing.
Yeah.
Being able to express ourselves and being able to go to church
Yeah.
on Christmas morning and to choose not to go to church.
Yeah.
Whatever
How
we
do you, if you're going to set a tradition, if you let's make this a tradition.
Yeah.
Does it start, or does somebody go, "Hey, we did this last year," or do you purposefully go, "You know what? I'm gonna start a new tradition. This is what I'm gonna do."
Yeah. A few years ago, it's this. What's the guy's name? The He's inspirational speaker, but he's focused today, Matthew Kelly, on the Catholic Church, and he came out with a program called Your Best Lent Ever.
Yeah.
And so you got an email every day, and in this email every day there's a short video, and you watch it, and then you try to apply that to your life. I think it was about 4 years ago. So that has been a tradition. This year he changed the name of it to Your Best Christmas Ever, and he came up with some really, really, really important things. And the first day was all about everybody's rushing to get things they don't really need, to hang out with people sometimes they don't really want to hang out with. He said, let's get down to the real basis of what is Christmas all about this year. And so April and I have started that, and we are doing exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let's make this a new tradition.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, Lisa says, I think the greatest traditions are started when people repeat it because they remember the joy and love of that moment and repeat it by choice. And it naturally repeats because of the heart. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what a true tradition is. Now, tell your buddy thanks there. Nothing I want more than another piece of email as a tradition. Thank you. Or a text or you name it. And I've never hid this. I absolutely hate this time of year. I'm not a Grinch. I understand the reason for the season. I understand everything. The issue that I have, it's like Disney World is the happiest place and it's the most miserable place. People are yelling at each other. They're crying. Christmas is, oh, the joy of the season. Really? As neighbors try to outlight each other, as people are pushing and yelling at a 16-year-old kid who's just got a part-time job and got stuck working on Saturday, because the price rang up wrong as if it's her fault,
Well, one of the things I remember about when our kids were little is my wife would make sure that we had 3 children, that each of the children, their budget was exactly the same. She spent the exact amount of money within pennies on each child, and they had the exact
Yeah.
number of presents.
Yeah.
And she would stress over this so much.
Oh yeah.
And when we finally got down to, let's just ask them what's the one thing they really want, and then the socks and underwear and the other things
Yeah.
fill out all the other presents.
Yeah.
But once we did that, everybody was happier.
Yeah.
And for one of them, it might have cost $35. Another one might have cost $85. It didn't matter because we focused on what made them happy,
Right.
not, oh, everybody's got to have the same number of presents and the same
Yeah.
dollar amount.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna add it all up at 4 years old.
Yeah.
Make sure.
And Pete and I would always we would always joke. The tradition is, and I don't know if it's tradition as much as it is the universe saying this is how this works. Is Christmas is the one time dads get new underwear. That's it. One time a year. New underbritches.
47 and a half years of marriage, I have 47 packages of new underwear.
That's it. That's it. This is the one time. It's the only time I think that the men's underbritches are sold in stores. But that's it. and Pete would always, his tradition was always rotate. So one time it'd be t-shirts, the next year it'd be the underbritches, and and he goes, if I got out of whack on that because it was a rough year on either garment, he goes, it would throw everybody off. I'm like, a rough year.
This is a t-shirt.
Yeah, goodness sakes. That's right. So just always cool traditions. Now we always think of, when we hear the word tradition, we think of this holiday season, right? But what are some traditions that your family has throughout the year?
Well, one of the things my father was dying of the cancer gotten into his brain, and I got out to Colorado, and he would have moments of being aware, but most of the time he was just kind of in a fog there towards the end. And I'd been out there 3 or 4 days, and he all of a sudden his eyes was up and said, "Timmy, when did you get here?" I said, we figured out long before. Don't confuse him. "Oh, I just got in, Dad. You were taking a nap." He goes, "How's everything?" I go, "It's good, Dad." I said, "How you and God doing?" He says, "Oh, me and God, we're okay." He says, "I love you, Timmy." I said, "I love you, Dad." And he faded back out. And that was the only time my father and I ever said, "I love you" to each other.
Wow.
And that hit me. So a tradition that we started in our family is we never never leave without a kiss and I love you, or never greet without a kiss and I love you.
Yeah.
And that has lasted throughout our, my boys are 40 and 42 now, and they still
Yeah.
give me a low kiss and a goodbye kiss. And that's something we've never been ashamed of. And that's one of the traditions we started because of.
Yep. And that carries that carries through all the time. Hey, you are listening to 21.6 The Net, and this is Two Bald Guys and a Microphone. And of course, brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center, www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385-8190. And man, just trust me, if you haven't, go. Just if you're in the McHenry land area, tell them you heard it right here on Two Bald Guys and a Microphone, and they'll take good care of you. Trust me on that.
Yeah,
right?
I've been going to John for years.
Yeah.
And when things get tough, that's a good place for me to go hang out for a little
It's a
while.
great place. Of course, here at DDOE Enterprises Inc., the mothership of 21.6 The Net, there are such great shows and entertainment. If you haven't been, you should go to www.216thenet.com. We're working on a new website. We are also we'll have a widget that you can put on your phone, basically like an app that you can listen to the station anytime. Now, 90% of our programming now is music. So we have tons of music, non-genre. So we go country, dance music, we go rock and roll, we go classic rock. We've got some flappers music, a little bit of everything out there, which is really, really cool. And we're putting together a Christmas playlist, and you're going to be able to catch that the Christmas music probably between 4 to 6 or 4 to 7 on a daily basis, and 4 to 6 for sure, because there are some nights where we've got live shows at 6 p.m. But if you want to tune in and not hear Christmas music all the time, and again, it'll be a non-genre. It'll have new songs, old songs, weird songs, good stuff. And if you missed it, I hope on Black Friday we played 12 hours of Uncle Pete in the morning, because it had been a year since he had passed, and so that was a cool tribute. It was a really fun day. If you missed it, I apologize, but it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. So we've got great shows. A show that's going to be coming back that I'm really excited about is Mike and Fran. The Adventures of Mike and Fran. Mike Latone and his mom, who is 92 years old. It's like having conversations with Betty White. It's just, she's hilarious. It was a great show. They had taken some time off because of the pandemic at her age. They weren't sure, but they're coming back, and it may even be as soon as next Monday. But they'll follow Two Bald Guys and a Microphone.
Who can follow Two Bald Guys?
It's hard to, but it's just going to be a great show. It's very entertaining. It's a half-hour show that just, seeing things, talking about tradition, seeing things through a 92-year-old's eyes. Amazing. Just think of the way the world has changed, not just in the last 5 years, but in the last 90 years.
Yeah.
From no TV to TVs right in your hand. It's amazing to me.
Well, we talked about I grew up on a 10 home party line.
Yeah.
When I picked up my phone, Maxine McCune could be on her phone 6 miles away and listen to the conversation. And when I was small, we were two shorts and a long ring. But then it actually went where it was just an actual ringing telephone. If yours rang, it was for you.
Yeah.
But it also dinged in every other house, just like ding.
Yeah.
So they all
remember that
on the phone, and
I remember that.
So that was.
We lived out in Fowler, Michigan. So we were out on a 100-acre farm, and it was the same way. Everybody was tied in. I remember that. Yeah. 5932139. That was my
3862463.
You didn't need the area code at that point.
Nope.
Back then.
Don't need no
weren't enough
stupid area
numbers.
code.
There weren't enough numbers at that point.
Didn't even know
Absolutely.
what an area code was.
Shayna says she really likes the fairly recent Friendsgiving tradition. Are you familiar with that?
Where friends get together and stay family, the people you want to hang out with.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to hang out with family? Not necessarily. Not all the time.
Well, I'm sure they're all listening this morning, but I mean, it is. What are you most grateful for, thankful for? I mean, I've got a presentation coming up for AbbVie in a few weeks, and a big part of that conversation is going to be talking about the power of gratitude.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so important in our life to just slow down and give thanks. And unfortunately, when families get together, and some of the people in the family shouldn't be together in a closed door setting, there's always the family argument, the family battles, and especially over the last few years of politics, the way they've run, it's been some very interesting challenges.
My mouse stopped working.
His mouse is on leave for the moment. I grew up not experiencing that. Our family, when we got together, we were all farmers, and we were together half the time anyway, working. So Thanksgiving was a real joy. When I came out to Illinois, my first Thanksgiving at my wife's family, the first argument, I freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? They're going to kill each other. And the bottom line was that happened every year. I figured out, well, one of the brother-in-laws, Pete and I, a little bit later, a few years later, him and I would lay odds on who was going to be the ones to get an argument this year.
That's great. Whoopsie. One of the here's what I would challenge folks is I would challenge people to take a look at a tradition that doesn't make you really happy. And then ask yourself, why don't I enjoy this tradition? And is it that important? Now, the tradition may be that the family loves seeing you miserable. It's like, oh, here it comes. Dad's gonna be pissed at this when we do it every year, right? But if a tradition makes you miserable,
why are you doing it?
Why do you continue to do it? Look at that. Hey, Dave. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. That man was one of my neighbors when I lived at that house in Island Lake. I was telling you.
Got it.
Stayed in touch all these years. So.
There, I'm still trying to find the mouse.
We have a mouse on the run here.
That's it. So I think that it's what we have here is a failure to communicate.
What we have here is a failure to communicate. Let's go see Phineas J. Whoopi and see if we can straighten it out.
So I think there's a lot of traditions in people's families. There's a lot of things that people do year after year after year after year that they just don't communicate about. Come to find out, if you were to communicate about it, you're probably not the only one miserable.
Right.
Everybody else is like, oh, God, oh, Dad's Kent's going to do this again.
I hate those potatoes. Why do you always fix those?
Right. Nobody likes it.
We're always throwing out half of those potatoes. Well, Grandma used to make them.
Yeah, what would happen if you just said, hey, I'm not going to do this next year. I don't have the energy for it. And you're going to see that if it's a great tradition, somebody will go, I'll take care of it for you, Coach. Hey, let me step up and do that. Okay, you got some things on your plate? Okay, I'll do it next year, right? Otherwise, they'll go, yeah, that's cool. I mean, it really kind of just made you miserable anyway.
Well, let's look at this Thanksgiving. After my mother-in-law went into assisted living, my father-in-law passed away. The big Thanksgivings kind of went away. And then this year, my daughter, we joked about it at the beginning. She offered to host Thanksgiving at our house.
Right.
But that was fine because her and her husband doing all the cooking at their house and bringing it
Sure.
over. And we said, fine. And we had 23 or 24 people in the house.
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving, and it was what a blessing. You know, the kids were playing pool on the pool table. The little ones were racing around, making just all kinds of fun. And what a revival of an old tradition.
How many people fell asleep?
None,
Wow.
none. Now back in Nebraska,
Back in Nebraska.
my big brother fell asleep by Thanksgiving, and then they had a little trouble waking him up, so he wound up in
Eesh.
experiencing a few days in a hospital. But that wasn't the turkey; it was something else. But life does hand us some interesting things. I like what you said. If it's something good, one of the powers of tradition that I just looked up, the power of tradition. It says it is the power of connecting us to our past, right? Why do we do tradition? Because this happened when we were young. It was a better time in our life. We want to bring back that memory. That
Yeah, Christine says you're soft for some reason. Maybe because you're not talking like that. Come over here.
well, let me lean into it a little bit. Is that better? I'm kind of a soft-spoken guy after all. Kent is leaving me solo here at the table, but he is stepping into the producer's booth so he can take control of the board. Maybe we'll get this fixed. So, Christine, let me know if this is any better, or any of you. As Shana says, football is a big tradition. And being from Nebraska, Nebraska always played Oklahoma on Thanksgiving Day, and that was a big deal for us. So that
Yeah.
was part of the tradition. When they stopped playing, much better, he said. So, Dave, I'm glad you can hear me. I must have leaned away from the microphone a little bit there.
We got those directional mics, right? So you gotta talk right into it. So
if anyone would like to supply us with some high,
yeah,
we're today. This Monday is the first Monday in December, and we're talking about traditions and the power of traditions, and some of the traditions that we have, and are they important? Are there some traditions that should just go away, or are there some traditions that you want to hang on to no matter it was, and now you're far away again? Yeah, Deek is on the board trying to fix that. We might have a little short somewhere, or a little long, something in the wires. But the traditions that really make a difference in our lives, on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, on Easter, those traditions connect us to our history. And I think it's important that we keep that connection alive. But at the same time, as Deek was saying a few minutes ago, if it's a tradition that makes you miserable, why are you doing it? Why are you still doing it? I mean, that's
right. Because it's always been done that way.
Always been done that way.
I would challenge people this year, no better year than this one, to go ahead and break a tradition that you don't like.
Make a new tradition. Identify something that,
or just let one go.
Let it go. Find something that works for your family, and do it.
Yeah.
Maybe the tradition is doing something different every year.
That could be a good tradition. Instructor Speraza says overeating food coma. It's a good one to get rid of.
What's going on, John?
Christine says my sister and I have enjoyed a fantastic tradition with my mother and my late grandmother of taking one day out of our schedules around Thanksgiving and do a full cookie baking day. Then we would all leave with tins and tins of cookies, put them in our freezer, and have them ready to go for all of our holiday events. My mother is now 86 and can't manage in the kitchen anymore. That tradition has passed for now.
Well, Christine, I'll let you know, I love cookies, so I think you should keep that tradition alive, and drop some cookies off here at 216 Annette. That would.
Well, yeah, and who can you pass on to? I remember a tradition for many years, right around Thanksgiving was pie baking, and my mom would make pies and pies and pies. And then she didn't make a bunch of pies. And one of the things we always looked forward to was pie crust cookies. Did you ever have these?
Yes.
The remaining pie crust, you'd butter and sprinkle cinnamon and sugar on it and roll them up, and cut them. They were awesome. Yeah.
Well, and now it's gone to Costco because you get a pie for $5. It's like this big around.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to personal traditions, now we've been talking a lot about family traditions. Now, is there a personal tradition around this time of year that you yourself have done year after year after year during this time? And will that, as we know, as you shared at the beginning of the show, there are some, you're going to go in and get roto-rootered a little bit.
Yeah, we gotta.
Will that tradition, or will a tradition stop because of that?
Well, I used to like to get out by myself and just, go for long walks on snowy days.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can't imagine this, but I'm not good by myself most of the season. I need to be surrounded by people.
You
That's
love the
that's just who I am.
Yeah.
My mind works too fast and gets me in too much trouble when I'm sitting by myself. But during this time of year, getting out and just walking, I love the cold. I love getting out in the cold, cooler weather and just enjoying the. So, is it a tradition? I don't know. It's just something I do, and I really enjoy.
That would be a tradition, right? Mr. Speranza says, being half Chinese, mom and dad, a full big Italian boy, we always had a bowl of rice at the table. We never ate it, but mom couldn't help but put it out. My family is scattered all over the U.S., and we all still leave a bowl of rice at the table for mom and dad. It's
kind of like the old fruitcake tradition, right? Nobody eats it, but you got to make a fruitcake. That's funny, John.
Yeah. I this time of year, this time of year, one of the things that I love to do is this is the ultimate in people watching.
Yeah.
I mean, just watching the stressed out people to the young people who maybe just got married or are dating and trying to impress, you know what I'm saying? And they dress up and I'll go to 3 or 4 shopping malls during this time. And my family loves to shop as well. I'm not saying we don't. But I very seldomly buy things when we go. I spend more time hanging outside of the stores, watching the people. This is I can create so many stories for the radio, so many stories for things just by watching people. Now, I don't like big crowds, and this is the worst time of year for me because there are always big crowds. But if I can find a space where I'm not crowded in, and I can create that, just people watching, and then a lot of times any one of my kids will sit next to me and we'll have we'll give the people words, we'll make conversations for them.
Good morning, Grant.
Grant, how are you? Shayna says, when I was a child, we would visit the grandparents' Minnesota farm for Christmas. We would hitch up the sleigh and make our way to midnight mass. I didn't know how magical it was at that. Oh, so true. Yeah. That sounds really, really cool. That's something I could dig. That's really, really cool.
See, we were the farm family that all the city cousins came to visit during the farm, and they thought it was great. We thought it was great because they did all our chores.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we'll feed the cow. Can I milk the cow? Damn straight, you can milk the cow.
That's great. Yeah. He says, good. Thank you. Dave says, my family is so broken now that I can't get any old traditional family gatherings. My daughter complains that her kids don't want to travel this far, so they have never come for any holiday. 3 hours away. And my sister and that side of my family always have had Thanksgiving at her house. So I end up alone with just one of my daughters. We just lost my mom, and she's who made everyone other than my daughter in Indiana come together. What to do?
Dave, I'm sorry. Your mom was an amazing lady. I loved her. So I'm sorry for your loss.
Brandon, good morning.
Brandon, good morning, son. How are you?
what to do. This is where you create new new traditions. This is, we talked a little bit about Friendsgiving. This is where sometimes you just have to say, okay. Now the other thing is you got to get out of your own way, right? And here's what I mean. Well, they probably don't want me there. Well, that's too far to go. Hey, make it fun. 3 hours is not a long trip, but at the same time, you could make that a 2-day trip. Have a little fun. Stop at a casino. Do something. Create a new tradition.
Yeah.
That absolutely excites you, and then start doing it, and then all of a sudden. When you're sharing those stories about your new tradition, about things, that's where people really just start buying in and falling in line and things of that nature. Forrest Allen Ward, good morning. Hiya, Tim. What a way to start the week.
Thanks, Forrest. I'll see you in a few minutes on Ziegler.
That's why we love two
ball guys and a microphone. One of the traditions when the kids were little, and just one of the favorite poems of the year was, it's the night before Christmas.
Okay.
I said it so many times that it's memorized, right? Yeah. So you just go into it wherever the kids are. Well, Brandon, my son, had checked in. He's got 2 little boys, 2 of the most amazing little guys, in Connor and Trey. And they're over the other day, and they wanted a book, and I didn't feel like getting up and book. And it's been years, and I thought, I wonder if I still remember this. And I was able to just go right through the night. These things get embedded into your mind. Yeah. And Connor just stared at me through the entire reciting of it, and here, I was like, wow, I guess the dementia hasn't fully set in yet. I got a little bit left.
Yeah. Oh yeah, green eggs and ham.
I do not like them, Sam. I am.
And what we're talking about this morning is traditions. We're going to be talking a little bit about traditions throughout the month, how to create some new ones, how to break some old ones, why it is. Hey, a guy named Frank, how are you? We really want to, talk about traditions and maybe some traditions that you can do to set up a great next year.
Yep.
Right. Another tradition that I have this time of year is this is when I reflect. I take a look at this year. What did I do well? What did I do? What did I not do well? And this is where I write down. Here are my goals for 2023, and personal goals, not only personal but professional, not only professional, but things for the radio station, those type of things. We've had a record year this year here at 216 The Net. We are in the midst of signing up with TuneIn Radio, so you're going to be able to listen to us on the TuneIn Radio app, where there's 30 plus million people who have subscriptions to that. So we're really, really excited there. Just a lot of good things are happening at the 216 studios that I'm excited about.
Just recently, on Facebook every day, one of the things I started, one of my daily traditions, is I go on Facebook and I look to see whose birthday it is, and I send out birthday wishes, but not just I like you on Facebook. I actually send out either voice messages or I call them directly. And Jay Schultz's birthday was last week. So Jay was the studio manager when we were over in Harvard at the station, and I shared our show with him this morning. I just got a thumbs up back from Jay that, good to see we're still up and going. Frank, thanks for checking in. I'll be on the road this morning, so I'll give you a call a little bit later. So take care of that personal business.
So traditions are things that make us who we are, and I love what Lisa says. They also it locks in time, and there's not a tradition that you don't go through that you don't think of years past. I mean that's why I love what Lisa said there. Is it really locks a good thing in time, and you think of, this was the cousins, the grandparents, the parents, and you go back, and now with those traditions, your kids, your grandkids are saying, man, that is, they're going to remember it for life. Traditions carry a good feeling. Habits,
Can't, but
just the word, right?
Right. Well, good or bad. There are good habits, but, we always think of the ones that we would like to get rid of. But we're a creature of habit, like it or hate it. We are driven by the habits, and that's a good thing we do. Otherwise, we'd be walking around a country of people with 3 teeth.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
the other thing is traditions are patterns that your brain has created, right? Habits, traditions, those type of things, again, that make it so you don't have to be in fight or flight.
right.
If it's a tradition that makes you want to fight or flight, then break the tradition.
I'd like to break the tradition of the Packers beating the Bears. I mean, that's one.
That's not going to happen for a while, I'm afraid to say. Well, maybe we'll see. Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears. But you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Is tradition is that warm cup of coffee. It's that heavy, warm blanket. We've got a fireplace, and it's at our new place, and it's cool, and we've got it all Christmased out on the mantle, the whole works. It looks, and yesterday it was a little chilly, so I turned the fireplace on. And Ophelia is Colette's dog, and that dog loves to lay right, belly to the fireplace, just like, hey, let me stay warm. And it is really that Christmas card view. Alice does a fantastic job decorating the house for the holidays, and all the Santas are on the mantle, and I'm just looking at that yesterday going, this is a new tradition. It's here, and then last night, once we were done, when we were done prepping for the wedding and things that's coming up in August, we made pizza. And when the kids were young, the thing that we would do on the weekend, on a Sunday, would be Extreme Makeover Home Edition with Ty Pennington. You remember that show?
Yeah.
Well, I found it on Hulu. So last night, as we're getting ready to eat pizza, I throw it on the TV. And it was such a tradition. And then to hear, Ashley and Colette talk about it, like, oh my gosh, we used to get the TV trays out. We used to, and then when it was done, Ashley was like, and right now, Mom would say, now go brush your teeth and get up. Yeah. And that's a tradition because the show ended that we don't partake in anymore. But how quickly it reverted everything back.
Yeah.
That childhood feel, that childhood energy, the young parent energy. Of course, Lucy's like, I don't get it, right? I mean, because she wasn't around for it. But the show we watched was from 2005, so Ashley would have been 9. She's 26 now, and so you kind of look at that and go, man. When you bring back an old tradition, it's like the fountain of youth. It re-energizes you. It takes you back there.
Well, one of the traditions we hope you start is every Monday morning you tune in to two bald guys and a microphone. We're in this last minute. Thank you, Natural Therapy Wellness Center, for the financial support of Two Bald Guys since the beginning. Over 6 years now, they've been with us. So, any last minute advice for the week?
Listen, take a look at your traditions for this time of year, and really examine them. If you have a tradition that just makes you miserable, stop it.
Stop it. Just stop it, or I'll bury you alive in a box.
Stop it.
Well, this is Tim Stewart for Deek Jones and all of us here at 216 Net and Two Bald Guys and a Microphone. It's time to get off the bench and get back in the game. So have an absolutely amazing day. Make this your best week yet.
Two ball guys and a microphone. 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 Alarm ringing in the morning, time to rise.